Welcome to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 30-year veteran writer, illustrator, editor, and publisher of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And it is a Thursday night, September 15th, 2022, and it is, well, usually it's a what did you get this week type of discussion. I didn't get that much this week. I will talk about what I did get in a little bit, but I got some questions in recent days that I haven't been doing my usual Q&A shorts on. So I thought I'd go ahead and answer some of those questions first and then get into our very short what did you get this week, and talk a little bit about crowdfunding for a certain project after that. So let's go ahead and get started with the questions. Our first question is from Crowdfunding Crybaby. You keep saying you're going to cover more Indiegogo campaigns when you talk about crowdfunding, but you never do. What's the hang-up? Surely you can find books on Indiegogo that interest you. Well, Crowdfunding Crybaby, the fact is I just covered Wraith of God Blood Hunters from Aaron Lopresti, and I have four, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 Indiegogo campaigns that haven't launched yet that I'm going to talk about. I can't talk about them until they're launched. I mean, I could say, hey, make sure you sign up for it or something, but I don't want to tell you to sign up for something until I've actually seen it or until I know something about the product, and those people haven't got back to me, so I have to wait until they launch. So just hold your horses. We'll get to them. So there you go. Our next question is from Comics by Perch fan, CBB fan. I was watching Perch. Yeah, I know you don't like him. And he had some guy who emailed him and whined about not being able to find comics that entertained him in the modern era. He supposedly tried indies, tried crowdfunding, digital, but that's all crap. What do you say to a person who talks about comics in such a manner? Well, that's probably what was asked of Perch. What do you do when you've got a person who's like that? And I'm sure Perch is going to say the same thing I'm going to say. That's on you. There's so much content out there. If you can't find something to enjoy, maybe comics is, go check out back issues, I suppose. But as far as modern stuff, I guess, maybe it's just time it's no longer for you. And that's okay. But I find it very difficult to believe that anybody who tells me that they went through crowdfunding and didn't find anything, or they went through indies and didn't find anything. Now, it could be that person has a difficult time finding stuff worth checking out, because with indies, depending on what store that person goes to or what stores are available in his area, they don't carry indies worth a damn. So you can't buy what's not in the store as far as that goes. As far as crowdfunding is concerned, I'm sure he probably checked out a lot of the people out there who are ex-Marvel, ex-DC, CG guys. And, either you like those individuals or you don't. And if you didn't like their stuff before, you're not going to like it now. Or even if you did like him, if you saw him on YouTube, you might not like the person anymore after some of the things that have been said in the infighting that's going on for the last 2-3 years. So, those two factors involved. But then, like I say, there's plenty of stuff that doesn't involve CG that's in crowdfunding that you can back and support. It just depends on what you're looking for. So I think it's more the person who emailed that individual probably is just not knowing what they're looking for, or they're looking for a nostalgia trip that just isn't there. And that's a problem with a lot of fandom. They want the nostalgia. They want it to be 1985 or 1990 or whatever it was that when they were teenagers, and it's just not that way anymore. It's never going to be. Get used to it. Okay, next question is from our friend Marv Sinkiller. If you had never fallen into comics, that's how it was phrased, what kind of job do you think you would have ended up with? I don't know if I would have fallen into comics, but I would have been in writing and illustration in some way, shape, or form. I'm not just comics guy. I've been a published author, and I've worked in role-playing games. I've worked in other media as journalists. So, I would have been in that realm regardless. I just wouldn't be in comics necessarily if I hadn't gotten into comics the way I did. So I'd probably be more focused in fiction writing and maybe RPGs. I don't know. It's hard to say because the role-playing game industry has kind of got its own quirks right now. A lot of people aren't backing the modern stuff going on because there's a lot of corporate issues going on between Hasbro, who owns Wizards of the Coast, who bought TSR out years ago and stuff, but having to do with the 5e version of Dungeons and Dragons and what has happened with previous editions and what's going on with the online open source supplemental materials and what the future of that is and stuff like that. So there's a lot of debate going on in that corner of the world, shall we say. So I don't know where I would be in that stance if I was more engaged in that. But it's quite interesting because people I know who are engaged in that situation or in that field seem to be pretty divided and getting pretty anti-Hasbro, anti-5e. So, we'll see where it goes. Another Perch viewer, possibly. Didn't really say, but he asks, why are there no younger writers in comics these days? It seems like the average age of a professional comic writer today is 46 years old. Why aren't there writers in their 20s writing the books like we had in the 1970s and 1980s? The reason I say another Perch viewer is because Perch did a video of this type of nature where someone had asked about something about this and said stuff like that. And okay, Monster Fan's in the house. Hello, Monster Fan, good to see you. First off, there weren't that many writers in their early 20s, mid 20s in the 70s and 1980s, as people might think. The average age in the 70s for the writers was actually 37. It skewed a little bit older in more recent times, largely because we've been holding on to the same creators for a generation and didn't let newer writers come in during a certain period of time, usually between 1994 and 2006. We had people come in, but then it was just like holding pattern up to today, and we're just starting to get more writers, but those writers are older now because when they were trying to break in, the other guys weren't letting them have that opportunity. So there's that. The other thing is that having been a teacher of English and creative writing at the college level, I'm not so sure there's that many teenage and early 20-something writers who are really good enough to write professional comics. A lot of them have grown up on the comics that have been made in the last 30 years, and there's a lot that they need to unlearn from their favorite writers stylistically and learn to get their own voices before they're really ready for the game at that level, as far as I'm concerned, as an editor and as a teacher. And it takes them a long time to learn it, so they might not get in until their 30s or their 40s as a result. So there's, that's another factor. Now, some people like to say, well, what about some of these newer people that they think are coming in or are really young because they sound really young and really immature? They're not. They're in their 30s. They're in their 40s. And they just never grew up personality-wise because they grew up online. They grew up in this generation that they didn't have the same kind of life experiences that the previous generation had. So there's a lot of immaturity, I think, with some of them as a result. Because they did, it's a big difference in maturity base when you have to interact with people face to face in person in the real world versus hiding behind a computer screen. And, a lot of the writers today have this very brazen, abrasive personalities because they can be online and hide behind a screen and not be confrontational, or be confrontational rather, without consequence. Whereas back in the 70s and 80s, you learned how to curb your tongue and act appropriately and do certain things a certain way. And I think that's why a lot of, when you do that, that helps you a little bit to get in a little bit earlier as well. So there's a lot of that going on. Now, the other thing is, does it really matter if we do have 20-somethings writing comics for mainstream? Most of us started out writing indie books, self-publishing, and it seems like a lot of the people who are complaining about that are 20-somethings who haven't made the effort to do that. They just think they should be given the opportunity because, well, this stuff sucks, I can do better. Well, prove it. Go write some comics. Go do some comics. Show us something that gives us some inclination to believe that you possibly could. Myself as an editor, I'm looking for writers who I believe can do better than what's being done. And I don't see it from that age group. I see it from older people who have experience as writers in other markets. And I think that's what a lot of other editors are seeing as well. And that's why you're seeing writers coming in from Hollywood. You're seeing established award-winning writers from science fiction, fantasy, and horror coming into the comic scene. And, yes, they might have to have a little bit of a learning curve to change from one format to the other. But they have proven themselves in so much as having the technical ability to write. It's just a matter of finding their proper voice and cadence and structure in the comics format. And that doesn't happen overnight for anybody. So, there you go on that. So those are the questions for this evening. If you have questions for me, you can email me at quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com, subject QTR Q&A. If you want your name in there, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine. A lot of people don't, and that's why they get the nicknames they get. So, understand, some of the tone I don't like of the questions or something like that. I'm not picking on you, but if you don't want your name mentioned, there you go. You're going to get what you get. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to what we got this week, which wasn't much, unfortunately. We got two things this week. We got back issue number 138, which we'll discuss in a minute. If this thing's, there we go, there's the camera. And we got Appleseed Alpha, which we will not review tonight. We'll be reviewing that as part of tomorrow evening's show when we talk about Appleseed from 1988 and this movie. That's what I got this week. But let's talk real quick about back issue 138, 1095 from Tomorrow's Publishing. Writers various, artists various for ages 13 and up. Interview Historical Review Magazine. It was released yesterday, September 14th. The issue's theme is the classic heroes of the Bronze Age, featuring articles about Flash Gordon, Zorro, the Lone Ranger, Popeye, Jungle Twins, Son of Tomahawk. There's a brief thing about the Hostess Snacks comics advertisement that they had in the 70s, and a few more other articles in there. Truth be told, I'm not much of a fan of any of these particular character properties. And while the articles were typical of the high-end quality that we've come to expect from Tomorrow's and from Back Issue, there really wasn't a standout article or interview that grabbed me as far as, wow, this is really, really cool. Certainly fascinating to read and learn stuff from, but not necessarily anything that wowed me. There is a short rough stuff feature featuring rough pencils for some of this Hostess snack advertisements. As I mentioned, I'm going to show that to you here in a moment. Here is one for the Hulk and one for Captain Marvel. This is what the original pencils looked like for those advertisements for the Hostess snack pies or snack cakes. And, you know, they're interesting to look at. Pretty simple grid, 6 grid stories. The Hulk one's a little more interesting because it has a little more dynamic grid change comparison to the Captain Marvel one, because that's just a standard 6 box. But, you know, as far, you know, some of the stuff isn't here. It's interesting. I forget who drew this. Let me check real quick which one drew this one. Keith Pollard. Okay. Keith Pollard did the Captain Marvel, and he breaks the borders with his finger, with Captain Marvel's fingers, which, you know, it's interesting that that's going on, but that's, you know, those tangents are supposed to be things that we're supposed to be avoiding. So it's kind of interesting that they ignore some of the principal drawing things that we're taught not to do. Here are some of Dan DeCarlo's for Hostess for Archie Comics. And again, this is 1976 when these were done, or September of 76. So it gives you an idea of how long ago those were done. And they're interesting pencils to see. There is an interview with Dan Jurgens and Robert Greenberger talking about their 1988 Flash Gordon miniseries at DC. This is when I was getting back into comic shops when that series was first coming out. Unfortunately, I never got around to looking at it when it was originally released because, well, I was poor and my parents were pretty restrictive on things. I was only getting X books and Conan at the time, so I wasn't really even allowed to look at stuff like that. It was just quick, get your X-Men, your X-Factor, your New Mutants, your Excalibur, your Wolverine. That's enough. Get out of here, type thing. You know, oh, you want Conan? Fine. Yeah. So 6 books is enough for you, darn it. Which you can kind of understand. Even back then, you know, people were not rich. A lot of families weren't. And comics at that time, even in '88, were in the 1 to 150 category. So, you know, there you go. But anyway, I've seen a few issues here and there in my travels, but I've never actually read the series. I knew I probably should get around to it, finding it. Unfortunately, it has never been collected into a trade by DC. I don't know if that's because of rights issues with King Feature Syndicate or because DC just didn't think it was sold enough or what, but there isn't a trade collection, and there probably should be. Overall, though, the magazine is its usual high-quality take on the topics it discusses, and it doesn't happen to have, it just doesn't have to be discussing topics that interest me personally, as most issues usually do. But I'm sure that for those who are fans of these characters, Flash Gordon, Popeye, Zorro, so forth, I think you'll find it just as interesting as always, if not more so. The Popeye features were pretty cool in a way. I'm going to show you something real quick here from the Popeye feature. this is, if they did a comic of Popeye looking like this, I might actually be interested in it. But this was a parody from either Cracked or Mad Magazine of the Robin Williams Popeye movie, as you can kind of tell from the face there of Popeye, or not Popeye in this case, but it's Flop-Eye, but it's not Popeye, it's a parody. But if they did a Popeye that looked like that, that actually might interest me a little bit, just to see what it would do with the realism look of the features as opposed to the cartoony EC Cigar stuff. North 3 comes in at 20-minute mark. Good to see you. Not a whole lot much else to add for what we got this week, unfortunately. But we do have something else to share with you for crowdfunding discussion. And that is Blood Force Trauma number 6. This just launched today. As you can see, it's over 2,000 of its 3,500 goal with 63 backers, and it's growing, as we can see right there. Now it's over 2,200. Haven't backed it yet. The reason I haven't backed it is because I haven't got an answer to my question from Jake. I asked him if this was picked up from Dark Horse as well, because as I've mentioned in recent weeks, Dark Horse did pick up the first 5 issues in a trade collection. Now, apparently there's going to be 12 issues total of Blood Force Trauma. I don't know if Dark Horse has picked up the series and he's just crowdfunding it because they're just crowdfunding it, because a lot of people do that for Image and Dark Horse now these days, and that's perfectly fine. But I just, for those of us who want to know, is this picked up by Dark Horse or just being released in the trades through Dark Horse? He hasn't answered me yet, so I don't know if or when he will. I've asked him privately and publicly, so I don't know what else I can do, because I asked him a week ago on it and haven't heard back. So it is what it is. But let's go ahead and take a look.
Are you ready for the next issue of your favorite comedy / action, sci-fi / violence / kung fu comic book series, Blood Force Trauma? Zach Daniels is training for his next battle against the vicious, bloodthirsty Eradicate. Can he learn the secret ninjutsu of Yusha Umahara before the fight, or will be ruthlessly chainsaw in half like this guy? Meanwhile, what's Lightning Legs Jones up to? Who's that guy? And who are those green dudes? Back the project and find out. We've got amazing rewards for you. You're going to crack your custom design leather pants when you see the sweet merch we've got this time around. We've got these delicious t-shirts. This one, and that one, and that one. Get an original page from the book, hand-drawn by Jake Smith. Get a custom arcade stick so you can Hadouken your homies into oblivion in style. Don't forget to pick up exclusive Aaron Conley variant cover. Only 30 copies available. Move fast. Also, don't forget about this huge, sexy, erotic poster. It's got all the fighters from past, present, and future issues squaring off. Thank you for your continued support of the book. It means everything to us. Thank you.
Well, I have to say that was a hilarious video. The voiceover guy was really good on that. I really liked that. Let's see what fun stuff they've got here. Of course, they did mention the 30 copy variant cover. Let's see how many of those are even left, if they even have it. They got 25 left, so you could easily get the variant cover at this point, which is fine. To get all 6 issues, physical copies cost $30 if you haven't read the story yet. So there's that. 30 for all 6 issues is $5 an issue. Reasonable. Let's see. Considering a basic 6-issue just buying number 6 is $10. I'm almost willing to go ahead and spend $30 to get another extra copy of 1 through 5 and give them to a friend. At that point, I'll have to think about that. Of course, the variant cover costs $30. That's a little bit high, I think, but that's, whatever. PDF is $30 for all 6. T-shirt with issue 6, you can pick either the tie-dye shirts or the orange shirt. Well, let's take a quick look. That's the regular cover that you're going to get for Blood Force Trauma number 6. I'm not worried about the creators. I'm not worried about the covers. There's that poster they were talking about. They call it a huge movie style poster. I don't know if it's a movie style poster. If it's really not that. It's so elongated. I don't know. Not the usual traditional movie poster I think of, but there are some who do it sideways. So I guess there's that. Some pinups. Where's the shirts? I know the shirts are in here. Here you go. You get a green tie-dye shirt with the back with our lead character, Zap Daniels, on the back, or a purple one with green version of him on the back. I don't know. I like the tie-dye. I just don't know if... Personally, I would cut out the backgrounds on those and leave all that green and just leave the figurehead of it instead of having that square on the back myself. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? And then here's the other T-shirt, which is the cover to 6 in a straight orange, which looks okay. Their T-shirts are actually some of the best things that they offer in this series. They've done a lot of really cool looking T-shirts that were worth getting. So yeah, it is one of the best comics I've seen in the last year or so. Pardon my eyes starting to bother me. There we go. As far as entertainment-wise, I happen to like the way Smith does his line art and does his colors are very neon graphical, just vibrant looking stuff that reminds you of kind of an 80s comic, but yet it's so excessively violent. So we'll go ahead and get back here real quick. That's not. Let me show you some of Jake's art a little more up close if he's got some good ones up there. I mean, that is Jake's, but they're not really showing very many story pages to number 6. But can you see that? Let me go ahead and there. This way he does his colors are very nice and very vibrant. Makes the book stand out to me visually in a way that many books just don't do, because they're doing that kind of bland computer coloring that's pseudo-realistic but not really. Whereas this has just got such interesting neon vibrant color scheme. This makes his art stand out really well. The story is it's fun to read for what it is, but I wouldn't say it's like the absolute best story ever, but it's interesting. This is the 6th issue of a 12 arc story So there you go. You're halfway through. Supposedly there's going to be 36 issues if they can get the whole series done. So there you go. Again, here's the cover for number 6. Again, you can see this kind of just really vibrant coloring scheme. I wish he had put some more pages here instead of just the back covers. I mean, the covers look nice and all, but I just wish he'd show some more interior pages on these. These two are future covers down the road. So is this one. I'm not worried about their pinup gallery. Again, you know, like I said, they really do need to put some of the story pages up. But you know, they're going to do what they do. Here's some of the pages from 1 and 2. So. If you like the Street Fighter or any of those, you know, combat type video games, you'll like this stuff. If you liked The Running Man, you know, Schwarzenegger movie, you'll like this. That's Zap's little sister watching the fights from home, not realizing her brother's there at the event without her. So anyway, let me go ahead and I forgot to do that. All right, never mind. Just a second. The link to this Kickstarter is in my description, of course. As I wait for this thing to reload a page, and it doesn't want to. And it's not loading that page either. Am I connected? It says can you guys hear me? Okay, well, for some reason, the it said I wasn't connected. And I was like, what the heck? Very strange. But there's the Kickstarter link. You can go ahead and check that out and get a little bit closer, a better look at it, the artwork up close on your own screens rather than looking through what I've got here up close on your own screens rather than looking through. Yeah, Lightning Legs Jones is wearing the Bruce Lee outfit, which is the same as, of course, the bride in Kill Bill as well. So the color is garish. Yeah, it's meant to be. It's that neon 80s type stuff. Yeah, well, lots of purple, a lot of highlight green and yellow as well. So it might not be your thing. I don't know. I've enjoyed it so far anyway. But that is, you know, what it is. Hold on a second. I wonder what's going on here. There we go. Yeah, I don't know if my connection's right tonight or not. It keeps saying I'm frozen. Did I freeze on the screen to you guys? Well, not only did they have a good record of getting books out, they were supposedly picked up twice before by actual companies that were supposed to be releasing them um, through Diamond. And they go to do the book and get the stuff out, and then they would cancel carrying them for whatever reasons. And that's why I was so asking Jake about the Dark Horse situation, because they've already gone through Albatross and they already gone through another company before this, and it gotten kind of cut off. So, with the trade collection from Dark Horse, I was hoping Dark Horse, who's a much more reputable company, would pick them all the way through. So I guess that's a symbol there after interesting comic from North. I actually think you guys will like the book. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but Zap is basically a fanboy who goes to the event, and somebody somehow enters him into the contest. He's just a newbie. He has no training whatsoever. He has to fight against the champion, and the champion throws the match and lets him beat him to become the new champion of the show. And now he has to try and figure out how to survive. And Lightning Legs Jones is a retired fighter, and the Samedi, the girl that's training him now, is a retired fighter, and they're trying to basically keep him alive while trying to prove that the guy who's running the show is not on the level and needs to be taken down. So that's the base of the story. But no, I guess you mean I'm not freezing. That's good. Did you happen to hear Pete Samedi earlier this week? Not necessarily. Specific to what? I don't always follow Peter. Sometimes I hear about what he's talking about. Sometimes I don't. So, what's going on? Crowdfunding problems and poor writing and completed books. Well, there's always crowdfunding problems. If he's talking about people being able to fulfill on time, there's always issues with that, unfortunately. There were even before we had the supposed, fulfillment chain issues due to the pandemic. Poor writing and completed books I don't know if he's talking about his own, that he has to try and get corrected before he can release them, or if he means other people's books, which is just him kind of saying, well, books suck. You know, um, okay. Well, that's no big deal there. I mean, you know, I'm not surprised by that at all. I think that it goes back to our earlier discussion. How come there aren't more 20 somethings doing books? I'll bet you a lot of those 20 somethings are sending to Peter, and he's saying they aren't good enough. You know, and you know, if you're not good enough for Peter, that's, I mean, not that Alterna does bad books by any means. They have quality books. You know, some of them are a little bit less so than others, but that's true of any publisher. But I would say that it's very easy to find reasons to reject something with the writing and the art. Having seen stuff that I've had submitted to me, even people who are my friends, I am constantly sending them. I mean, Marv Sinkiller will tell you. I didn't rewrite his script, but I just, you know, I gave him a lot of pointers, and he made a lot of corrections as a result. I think that's true of all the situations for all the books. I get so many people who submit stuff to me thinking it's great, and it's like it's chock full of grammatical errors, chock full of informational errors, you know, stuff that's just not, you know, factually incorrect. Ask for a certain thing, like, you know, we're going to do a story about flying into the Bermuda Triangle, but we're off the coast of California. Well, the Bermuda Triangle isn't off the coast of California. It's in the Atlantic, not the Pacific Ocean. You know, things like that sort of thing happens quite often, unfortunately. So if he's running into that kind of a situation, I could very easily see him reject that many, even double or triple that amount. So that's not a surprise. He also said he won't back a campaign that doesn't have a book finished, colors and lettering and page. Many campaigns don't now. I presume that he means a full book finished, or does he mean a campaign finished? But anyway, yeah, many campaigns won't now. That's true. It depends on the person. I mean, I think we can trust someone like Aaron LaPresse to get his book done. You know, I mean, you know, he's showing you the process as he's doing it during the campaign and after the campaign, showing you the book. So, I mean, I don't think that Peter would necessarily say he wouldn't do that to Aaron necessarily. But yeah, if it's somebody who isn't a proven commodity or someone who isn't showing their work as they're going through the process, yeah, I wouldn't really necessarily want to back them either on a lot of stuff. That's another reason why I don't back a lot of the IG guys, because I'm not seeing the work done. Whereas on the Kickstarter books, I tend to see the people. I mean, part of it's because the people send their stuff to me, and they say, "Hey, what do you think of my book?" But you know, a lot of IG guys don't, so that might be part of it. Yeah, I can understand where he would not do that. I think a lot of people would say that. Listen to the first hour of his last stream. Okay, is that? I'm trying to think because I don't subscribe to him. Unless I don't think I do. I'll look for it. Or you can send me a link in Facebook Messenger or something. But yeah, I can understand where he's probably coming from on a lot of that. Okay. But yeah. Okay, I get it. Now I understand. He won't show at least a campaign that doesn't show at least one finished page with colors and lettering on it to show. Well, I guess that makes sense because that would mean he's assuming the book's written, penciled, inked, and colored, and the lettering is being worked on. That's the last phase of it. So he's thinking that it'll be done by the time the campaign ends, and that it'll be done. Whereas if it's a person where they show even just like they tell you like, okay, I got the book penciled and inked, and I'm waiting on the colors and lettering, that could take a while depending on who you got and what's going on. So, I don't know. Again, I think it just depends on is the person a proven commodity? Have they done previous campaigns that have been fulfilled? Is it someone who's worked regularly in the business for a long period of time? But at this stage of the game, crowdfunding's become fairly successful over the last 3 years. I think a lot of people who are just getting started in the industry need to learn into the crowdfunding scene of it. They need to learn that you can't necessarily get by on the short version that the other guys are doing because they've already built a reputation. They can sort of get away with it. If you're just starting out, you probably should have your whole first book done and in the can before you ever even solicit your book. That's my advice to startups on that. Sometimes you might even have to wait, longer. I don't know, but if you haven't built up a reputation, either in the mainstream or in crowdfunding, it's very difficult to build an audience if you haven't got a complete book to show. So I think that's the key there on that. So that's part of what I think Peter's dealing with too. And I think Peter's also probably getting a little bit of a brushback. He's been reprinting Clint Stoker's Downcast through Alterna. And Clint's current IG book that's in demand, Fatal, is over 2 years overdue. So I think he might be getting a little bit of a bite in the butt from fans on that a little bit maybe too. So, and there might be some other people there at Alterna. He's been reprinting in the for the cheaper crowd, I guess you could say, because since the Alterna is on newsprint and more affordable. So I think that might be possibly coloring his views a little bit as well. I could be mistaken, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is part of his thinking. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and check that out, though, and talk about it some more when we get a chance. The book should be done. A lot of people ask me, when are you going to do crowdfunding? When are you going to do a crowdfunding? When I have a book done. Even if I decide to go that route, and there's no guarantee I will. Again, I'm not against crowdfunding. I don't think that you can say I'm against crowdfunding when I've backed over 150 different crowdfunders, and I constantly promote Kickstarters and other books from the crowdfunding scene on this channel. So I don't think anybody can suggest that I'm not into supporting that scene. But just because I'm willing to support other people doesn't necessarily mean it's what I'm going to do with my products. But we'll see. But if I do, that's definitely the way it's going to be, is that the book's going to be done. Okay. Tomorrow will be our Friday show, 8 p.m. We'll be discussing the movie Appleseed from 1988 and the Alpha Seed Alpha from 2014. Unfortunately, I was going to send people a link to the 2014 for Tubi, but they removed it. So I can't do that. I had to go get the DVD, which I got yesterday. So I haven't had a chance to read. I'm going to be watching this tonight and writing up my reviews tonight for the show tomorrow. And then on Saturday in the afternoon sometime, we will have a live draw. And I don't know what all I'm going to be drawing, but I'm going to be bringing out like some of the Gladstone School for World Conquerors characters and books. I'm going to be bringing Brian Rodman's book, The Nebulizer. We'll be drawing that character, this character, my version of him. We'll be drawing a bunch of different things from the indie scene, from the crowdfunding scene. So there we go. Again, promoting crowdfunders. We'll probably do one of my characters as well. So lots of stuff going on Saturday. Hopefully from like 1 to 5 Eastern, but we'll see how I'm feeling health-wise, because the last few days have been touch and go. As you've noticed from my scheduling, hasn't been my normal. That's because I've been kind of up and down. My blood sugar's been really elevated lately. My A1C's really crappy. And we're trying to figure out what's causing it and what we can do to get that corrected. But once that's resolved, I'll be hopefully better on my schedules. But we'll see, hopefully. Alrighty, that's all for tonight. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, or you think others might, do me a favor and hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. If you have comments, questions, suggestions, Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. See some more of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven, or wait till this weekend. You've been watching Quoth, the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven, exclusively on YouTube. Again, if you don't want to talk to me on social media, but you want to email me a question, QuothTheRavenLBR72@gmail.com is the place to reach out to me at. And if I don't get back to you, try LewisBrightRaven@yahoo.com. When you email me, let me know if you want me to use your name, or, if you don't mind me picking on you a little bit. I might. I was a little bit grumpy when I wrote the questions this week. I'm sorry, folks. I was dealing with some shoulder pain, so. Again, that has to do with my A1C and my blood sugar being screwed up. It's messing up my nervous system. But anyway, that's all for tonight. And we'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. for movie night. Have a good one.